My Ad Analysis by Tori Taylor. For this project, I chose to use the topic of classical conditioning, which falls into the psychological topic of learning. In this exploration, the spotlight, so to say, is on how a conditioned response can be produced when it is associated with a recurring positive or negative stimulus. Classical conditioning is also known as Pavlovian conditioning. The article I chose is titled "The Classical Reflexes: An Investigation of the Physiological Activity of the Cerebral Cortex." It was written by Ivan Pavlov. The article explores the learning process of both humans and animals, discusses the innate response to a neutral stimulus, and illustrates that the response varies depending on the positive or negative outcomes associated with the stimulus. The hypothesis states that the neutral stimulus and the outcome must be consistent and repetitive. The neutral stimulus will trigger a response from both the human and/or animal, and the neutral stimulus must be coupled with an additional stimulus that creates the desired responses naturally. In this experiment by Pavlov, he used the following items: dogs to measure responses to controlled stimuli, unconditioned stimulus of meat powder, and conditioned stimulus of a metronome, a light, and a bell. Pavlov was testing his ideas and theory that a dog could be trained or taught to react to the conditioned stimulus when coupled with the unconditioned stimulus was tested and results were measured. This theory was put into practice through a series of learning sessions. The results of the experiment show that before conditioning, the original stimulus produces the original or natural reaction, while the unrelated stimulus did not produce any salvation from the dog. During the conditioning, the original stimulus paired with the unrelated stimulus triggered the original or natural reaction of salvation from the dog, and after conditioning, the original stimulus was no longer needed to produce the reaction of salvation from the dog. It was now salivating when the unrelated stimulus was utilized. Pavlov proved his hypothesis correct. It is illustrated that the beings will create a conditioned response in connection with the unconditioned stimulus. A natural reaction occurs in both humans and animals in an expected manner when a conditioned stimulus is paired with an unconditioned stimulus that naturally creates the reaction wanted. Advertisers have relied on classical conditioning to make consumers want to buy one company's products and services over those of another. Visual messages are omnipresent in our daily life. They are constantly attempting to persuade us to buy, learn, and act. Some are more successful than others in influencing our behavior and choices. The familiar dark red background makes the well-known company logo of the golden arches stand out and catch the eye of the consumer. The company quote of "I'm loving it" is also prominently displayed. The illustration of the sandwiches shows each perfectly made and ready to eat. The ad says "The Angus Third Pounder, get yours today," and includes the offer and coupons for free items. The advertisement is stamped with an A surrounded by positive descriptions of the hamburger that is placed as the visual point of the sandwiches. A familiar example of classical conditioning in advertising is the well-known golden arches of McDonald's. Everyone knows that the golden M-like arches symbolize the McDonald's food, and then thinking of food often makes a person hungry. So McDonald's has successfully used classical conditioning on almost the entire world to associate their golden arch logo with hunger for food. If the method of classical conditioning holds true, the illustrations of the golden arches along with the perfectly displayed sandwiches will entice the consumer to react in the expected manner. The "I'm loving it" quote is the first words that will catch the consumer's eyes, and by the time the negative wording is read, the reaction due to classical conditioning will have already taken place and affected the consumer. Any advertisement that you hear on the radio or seen on the TV is using classical conditioning to make you change your behavior and go and buy their product. Cola, pizzas, cars, and even toilet paper commercials are no exceptions. Advertisements are made with the psychological principle in mind to dig deep into your mind and your pocketbook. So be warned when you are driving down the road and see those golden arches and your stomach gives a little rumble. Then you should realize that you are probably being classically conditioned just like Pavlov's dogs.